I've played Final Episode Freddy's quite a bit now, and I just wanted to give my honest feedback of the game and provide some suggestions on how the game, could be improved. First things first though, I absolutely love this game. I never expected, FLAF to get a racing game, but now that we are getting one, I really want it to be the best that it possibly can be. I do think though that this game should have been labelled either, a tech demo or even just a proof of concept rather than being labelled as a demo, as demos are usually, sections of games that are already pretty much complete, and this game is far from, being finished. I'm going to start with, the things I like about the game, and then I'm going to suggest some things that could, potentially need changing. So, first things first, the graphics are perfectly fine the way that they are. Again, it's bright, it's colourful, and overall it's just really nice to look at. The character models are fantastic, they're super cute. I personally love them and don't really feel like they need any sort of changes. I also can't wait to see what other characters that they will add in the future. Sure, at the moment, the animatronics are pretty lifeless. They don't have any of the animations, but there's no doubt they're going to get added in the future, so it's not really that big of a deal and not really something that needs to be brought up. The music is fantastic. It's just banger after banger. So, props to whoever composed the music for the tracks, and I'm really looking forward to what they make for the other tracks. The transitioning between the day and the night cycle is seamless. It's just perfect. It just works, and I haven't had any problems with it. Out of all the races that I've completed, no bugs at all, which is great. The menus are really simple and they are really fast. You can go from the main menu right into a race in a matter of seconds. The last time I encountered a menu system this quick was in the 2005 version of Need for Speed Most Wanted. It's just flawless. It just works. The load times for the maps are super short as well, which is fantastic because you just aren't waiting any time at all to be in a race. It's just you pick your character, your car, your track, and you're in 5 to 6 seconds pretty much. I haven't encountered any bugs at all with any of the objects you pick up from the gift boxes. As of right now, all the ones in the game just seem to just work. Same goes with the boost pads and the battery upgrades. They all work as intended. Haven't really encountered anything wrong with those at all. Alright, now for the stuff that, needs work. First thing is, there's no restart button in the menu when you're in a race. I don't know why that's not there. That really should be there. It's just, for whatever reason, it just isn't. It is quite, annoying having to quit the main menu, reselect everything, and then wait for it, to load back in. Even with how quick the menus are, having that restart button in the race pause menu, it should just be there. It really should be there. So hopefully that, gets added with the full game. Next thing, this is the biggest one. It's the drifting handling model in the demo currently. It's really inconsistent and just doesn't feel that good. Most of the time, it just feels like you're on rails. As soon as you engage a drift, you're locked into the direction that you started the drift in, and you cannot smoothly go between left and right. It's just once you engage a drift in either whatever direction the map's left or right, you're just locked into that. And then other times you engage a drift and you just end up looping out for whatever reason. You can't really tell which one it's going to do. It just kind of picks for itself what it wants to do. On the other hand, the regular handling, when you're just driving around, that is absolutely fine. You have full control of your car, it's smooth. That doesn't really need any work whatsoever. Personally, I don't think. I think it's fine. Now, I would recommend that the developers pick themselves up a copy of both Need for Speed Carbon and Juiced 2 and check out the drifting in these games, because these games have the best drifting handling model out of any racing game that has just ever been made, period. The drifting in those games is just fluid. You have full control of your car at all times. Switching directions from left to right is smooth. It's really quick, and the overall pace of the drifting in these games as well is incredibly fast. You just don't lose any speed at all, and it's just so much fun. Now, here's the thing, I'm not saying to just go in and copy those handling models one to one. I'm just saying to check them out to get a pretty good idea of how a drifting handling model should feel. And these games do it best. This is a racing game after all, and the most important thing in a racing game is the handling. It doesn't matter how much content is in the game, it doesn't matter if the graphics look amazing, it doesn't matter how good they look. At the end of the day, it's a racing game, and if the handling is bad, it ruins the whole overall experience of the game. So the handling needs to be good. And also, just to loop back real quick on the 2 previous games mentioned, make sure you're using a rear wheel drive car, because front wheel drive cars and all wheel drive cars just drift really weirdly. Alright, the night shift animatronic, he's gotta go. Personally, you know, I know this is technically a FNAF game, but it's also a racing game, and it doesn't need this jump scare mechanic that just completely takes you out of the race. It ruins the entire flow of the game. Sure, there's 3 ways, you know, at least that I know of, that you can take him out. 1, he's got health, you shoot him 3 times, and you take him out. But here's the thing, you can only hold 2 offensive items at a time. You need to be behind him, for 1, to actually attack him. So if you're in first, there's just no way that you can attack him, because he's always going to be behind you. And then it's up to the NPCs to take him out, which that just rarely ever happens. I haven't even encountered that once where the NPCs have taken the night shift animatronic out, so that happening is just like next to 0, pretty much. You've obviously got, you know, the Phaz mirror shield power up, but again, you actually need to have that in your inventory already, and then you got to time it right. And then the third way is you can actually outrun him. Like, you can just straight up outrun him if, you know, you are chaining the drifts together and you're hitting all the boost pads. If you get the combo that with the cupcake power up as well, just to get an extra boost, you can outrun him until it switches back to the day shift. I've done that, you know, numerous amounts of times, but again, it just comes down to if you have, you know, the cupcake power up already, whether or not how close you are to the boost pads and stuff. And because of how inconsistent the handling is, trying to chain the drift together just doesn't really work most of the time, but it is doable. I would personally like him removed, because this just doesn't need to be in a racing game at all, because again, it just ruins the flow. However, you know, if they do want to keep him in the game, perhaps having it, you know, him spin your car out, like when you hit the exotic butters or the security door, would be better, as opposed to him, you know, completely picking your car up, fucking jump scaring you, waiting for it to reset. And then on top of that, you also lose all of your battery upgrades, which is just ridiculous, to be honest, and that's, you know, way too harsh of a punishment for something that you can't really avoid. So I just think he's got to go, man, to be fair. You already have, you know, the offensive weapons and the power-ups to slow, you know, the races down. Why has he got to do all that as well? You know what I mean? Now with the tracks, go crazy with them in terms of the track design. Like, there's no shortage of locations to pick from in the entirety of the FNAF universe. You can pretty much make a track out of anything. And you know what would be cool if they did some like Hot Wheels inspired tracks just to spice up the track layout a bit as well. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. Potentially as well, you know, if there's time in development to do this, they could add having some customizable parts, such as like different sets of wheels, different liveries, maybe some different like tire designs, stuff, you know, just small things like that. And you could also potentially be locked behind challenges that you do in single player, such as just like complete a total of 100 laps or beat a track in under a certain amount of time, just stuff like that, just to make the single player just a little bit more engaging in, you know, in the long run. Now, I'm not saying not at all to make every single part of the carts customizable, absolutely not. That's just completely unnecessary for this type of game and would just be way too much work. That's not what I'm saying at all. Just a few, you know, a couple or a handful of small parts that can easily be, you know, designed and changed and stuff like that. Just something to make the cart stand out just a little bit more because as of right now, with whatever character you choose, all the carts look basically the same and they all kind of blend into one. So having just small little things that changes the appearance of the carts can just add a little bit more to the immersion and just make the game just a little bit more engaging. Adding leaderboards would be a great addition as well, which has, a list of like everyone's lap times. Anyone who's ever played the game, I think that'd be a really good idea, so you can easily check where you stand on the leaderboard, and then you can easily see who's at the top. Just something pretty simple and just something that just be a nice quality of life feature. Having a time trial mode that is also linked to said leaderboard would probably be the best way to do that. So if you want to put a time up on the leaderboard, you go into the time trial mode and you do it that way. That would probably be the best way to do that. And now I know this is probably already in the works, but this game needs to have multiplayer. Like, it just does. If this game wants to live more than a couple of weeks, it has got to have multiplayer. That's all I have to say pretty much, and some of these suggestions might sound a bit harsh, but that's only because I generally love this game, and I really want it to succeed, and I really want it to be the best that it possibly can be. Now, don't get me wrong, I have full faith in Click Team in delivering a good game, and remember, everything that I've said is just constructive criticism and just suggestions. Nothing has to be taken to heart. It's just constructive criticism and a suggestion at the end of the day. I cannot wait for the full game to release when it does, some point next year. Thanks for listening. Take it easy, and I'm out.